Hello and welcome. I'm Asuma Katauga and you're watching the World Report on NewsX World. Let's take a look at the top headlines of this hour. Speaking post the Abu Dhabi Trilateral, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said that the talks were constructive. The leader further informs that further meetings might take place next week. Through a recent Truth Social post, US President Donald Trump alerts Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney against trading with China, warning 100% tariffs on all Canadian products if Carney fails to listen to Trump. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen arrives in New Delhi to attend the 77th Republic Day celebrations as the chief guest and to finalize an India-EU trade deal. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has praised India and Pakistan's strong support at the UN Human Rights Council as they voted against a resolution on Iran's human rights record. The UNHRC nonetheless adopted a resolution, while India, Pakistan, China, and others opposed it. The Ivory Coast President Alassane Ouattara has announced a government reshuffle in which most ministers kept their posts, while his brother Tene Birahima Ouattara has retained the defense portfolio and was also named Deputy Prime Minister. The move follows Ouattara's fourth-term re-election with nearly 90% of the vote. IMF officials are expected to visit Libreville in February to assess Gabon's economic situation and discuss reform plans. As Finance Minister highlighted, the technical talks with the fund have intensified despite no formal loan request. Gabon's debt has risen to about 80% of GDP amid a persistent current account deficit. According to the Chinese Ministry of National Defense, China's defense ministry has placed two of its most senior generals, Sang Yu-sha, first vice chairman of the Central Military Commission, and Liu Zhenli, chief of the Joint Staff Department, are both under investigation for suspected serious violations of discipline and law. President Trump has accused Canada of blocking the Golden Dome project over Greenland and warns of closer China ties. This comes as Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen calls the situation serious in Nuuk and says Denmark and Greenland will act together. Now for this hour, we start with the trilateral talks. The first high-level trilateral negotiations between Ukraine and Russia, as well as the United States in Abu Dhabi, have ended, marking a pivotal moment in efforts to end the nearly four-year war. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has described US-brokered trilateral negotiations as constructive, stating that a lot was discussed regarding parameters for ending the war. The talks addressed the future of Ukraine's eastern Donbas region, which remains a key sticking point alongside security guarantees. While termed constructive, Zelensky noted that it is too early to draw final conclusions and described the negotiations as positive. Now for this discussion, we welcome Ms. Jasmine Zahravi. She's a journalist, joins us live from Vienna. Thank you very much, Ms. Zahravi, for joining us. Welcome to NewsX World. Now, what more can you tell us about the trilateral that's taken place?
Hello, and thank you for having me today. About the talks in Abu Dhabi, we can say that yes, it gave kind of hope a couple of days ago when we heard about this meeting in Abu Dhabi for all Ukrainians. On the other side, we see that so far we have no actual result of this. We see that they are telling about positive results, but so far we don't see any clear agreements out of this talks. Of course, it was the first meeting of Russia, Ukraine, and America, and in 4 years of war in Ukraine. But so far we have no results. The main obstacle we see that Donbas is a very a problematic region for both Russia and Ukraine. So I think it was the main obstacle for not having any agreement so far. also the other message that Russia sent to Ukraine this night or last night, that they actually sent many missiles to Ukraine, which actually killed a person and injured like 20 more, and it cut the electricity and gas from many houses in Ukraine. So I think this is a clear message from Russia to Ukraine that they are not willing to make any compromises, like in the negotiations in general, or any peace agreements that could take place in the future.
Right. How do you analyze the current alignment of US and Ukraine?
Of course, because of like Trump's attitude to like Zelensky and Ukraine in general, we see that US is not a really like strategic partner anymore as it was before, unfortunately. And of course, it's a problem that 2 years ago, US stopped sending any military support to Ukraine. So unfortunately, this makes Ukraine weaker on one side, and on the other side, it destroys any diplomatic, we can say, relations between US and Ukraine. So I can't be optimistic about this so far. But hopefully, maybe in a couple of years, if we have a new president in the US, maybe this will change this tension.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ravi, for sharing that. Please stay with us as we stay on this news. Now, the first round of trilateral peace talks between Ukraine, Russia, and the United States has concluded, with sources confirming that discussions will continue in Abu Dhabi next week. The meetings focused on halting the ongoing war have been described as constructive and positive by an Emirati government spokesperson. While no official details have been released, the sources have confirmed that further discussions will take place to work towards a resolution. The continuation of these high-level negotiations signals a significant step in efforts to end the conflict that has devastated Ukraine and Russia. Now, for this discussion, we welcome back Ms. Ravi. She's joining us live from Wien. Thank you very much, Ms. Ravi, for staying with us. Now, what do you think is Abu Dhabi's role or UAE's role here?
Of course, for the Emirates, it's a big step if they could bring any peace for both Russia and Ukraine, for like both sides to come to an agreement, because they have already helped both sides to make an agreement about the hostages that were like on both in both sides, like the Ukrainian hostages in Ukraine and Russia, and Russian hostages in Ukraine. So they came already to an agreement to exchange hostages, and that was in Emirates. So for Emirates, it's a big, an important event to bring Russia and Ukraine together for the second time, but this time to make a peace for like both sides, because of course on the other side we see that there are Russians who are also affected by this war, and of course they're refusing it, and like they have no other choice. So it's important for both countries to stop the war, and for Emirates, it's we can say it's a country that is neutral for both. So of course they would like to make peace, and this will promote the position of US in the international society also.
Thank you very much, Ms. Jasmine Zahravi, for joining us today from Wien and sharing that insight with us on NewsX World. Now we move on to our next news. We had earlier reported that French Navy has intercepted an oil tanker suspected of being part of Russia's sanctioned shadow fleet in the Mediterranean Sea. We now bring you the full visuals from the operation on your screen. French authorities say the tanker named Grinch was stopped in international waters in the Alboran Sea after intelligence from the United Kingdom raised concerns the vessel was sailing under a false flag. The tanker had departed from Murmansk in northwestern Russia and was intercepted off of the southern Spanish coast near Almeria. Officials say the ship was falsely registered under the flag of the Comoros Islands and the crew on board was Indian. The French Navy is now escorting the vessel to Anchorage for further inspections. French President Emmanuel Macron has said the operation was carried out with Allied support and in line with international maritime law. Western nations say Russia's shadow fleet helps finance the war in Ukraine by bypassing sanctions, and France has pledged to step up enforcement against these vessels. Now we move on to our next news. In a recent Truth Social post, US President Donald Trump has threatened to impose a 100% tariff on all Canadian goods if the country proceeds with a trade deal with China. Trump has warned Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney that attempting to make Canada a drop-off port for Chinese products into the U.S. would be met with severe consequences. The threat comes after Canada and China reached preliminary trade agreement to reduce tariffs and improve bilateral trade. Under the deal, China will reduce tariffs on Canadian canola products and allow visa-free access for Canadian visitors. In exchange, Canada will import Chinese electric vehicles under preferential tariffs. This comes amid strained relations between Canada and China earlier following the arrest of Huawei's founder's daughter. Now for this, we welcome Mr. Ashok Sajanhar. He is a former Indian diplomat joined us live from New Delhi. Thank you very much, Ambassador, for joining us. Welcome to NewsX World.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, how credible is President Trump's threat to impose 100% tariff on Canadian goods, and what would be the effects for this?
Yes, thank you very much. And I think this is a very serious threat on Canada. All the threats that President Donald Trump imposes on other countries, they are basically coercive. They are pressures to force these countries to change their stance on one particular issue or the other. So I don't think that this threat can be taken lightly, because the dependence of Canada on the United States is huge. It's about 75% of the exports of Canada, they go to the United States. So it is not a small amount in terms of trade, investment, technology cooperation also. There is both the countries, both the economies, both the people are intertwined. And this is the longest undefended border between any two countries. So it's a threat has to be taken seriously.
How do you analyze current China-Canada relations and Canada-US relations both?
Well, Canada-US relations are there for everyone to see that there is a huge fracture, there's a huge fissure between the two. And so much has been said by Prime Minister Mark Carney at the WEF in Davos, at the World Economic Forum in Davos 2 days ago, when he said that we should not succumb to the hegemon. So now will be the test of the case, and that middle countries, mid-power economies, countries, they should get together and they should stand unitedly against the hegemon. So the relations between the two of them, they have seem to have reached a point of no return, and whether it is in the area of security or it's in the area of trade, technology, Canada is diversifying, and that is why going totally against the policy of his predecessor Justin Trudeau, where the relations between Canada and China were very stressed, very strained, because Canada had at the instance of the United States arrested the daughter of the owner of Huawei. But Mark Carney, after he's come and after soon what has been happening after Mr. Trump took office about a year ago. He has been issuing all the threats to make Canada the 51st state of the United States. So Canada has been very busy and active in the process of diversification of its economic relations, whether it is further strengthening relations, economic ties with the European Union. And then he made a historic visit to China. You spoke about that as to what were the results of those visits that visit in terms of the electric vehicles coming to Canada. Of course, there is a threat because both Canada and the United States, they have a free trade area agreement between them, so that there is not products that are coming from China, that they don't find their way to the United States. So that definitely is a risk, that definitely is a danger. But there are ways against it, and so the relations have just started picking up between Canada and China. So we'll really have to wait and see as to what happens under these circumstances.
Yes, and building on that, this US's threats and US's stance and all of these things towards Canada by US, how do you think this has impacted towards Canada's willingness to deepen trade ties with China?
Well, we'll really have to wait and see, because this is the first threat after Prime Minister Mark Carney's visit to China that this is being made, and the threat was also made from the podium of the World Economic Forum in Davos by President Trump, because he had said that Canada lives because of the United States. Canada is because of the United States, because he knows what is the dependence of Canada on the United States in terms of its economy. So this is the first example, the first case of such coercive pressure being put against Canada. So how Canada reacts, how Canada responds, I think on that will depend a great deal. But just taking it just a little forward, I think if the dependence of Canada on the United States is so great, as I mentioned, 75%, so also is the dependence of the United States on Canada, on Canadian products. And if there is this tariff on Canadian products, they are not able to come here. And in fact, there are very many products like automotive components, automobiles, etc. They travel from Canada to the United States and back to Canada several times because
Yes.
because there are supply chains that are very integrated and intertwined. And if that happens, if these tariffs are imposed, then these supply chains will get completely disrupted, and that will have a huge impact also on the economy of the United States. And as we know that in many other cases, in fact, Mr. Trump has also been given this sobriquet of taco. Trump always chickens out because he reverses his positions, he reverses his stance, like he has done in the case of imposition of 10% extra tariffs on the European Union because of the fact that some of the countries were opposing his plans to take over Greenland. But then he had to reverse that because the markets reacted very unfavorably. So if the markets were to react unfavorably even to this announcement, and if the markets were to see that this is going to get operationalized, then possibly Mr. Trump will be forced to rethink whether he should go ahead with this or he should reconsider it.
Right. Building on that, thank you for highlighting that. How do you think, just tapping onto Trump's psyche here, from your observation, how do you think, what Trump sees or how Trump sees Canada right now?
I think he sees Canada basically as, he's touting it as the 51st state of the United States. And even when Justin Trudeau was there, the Prime Minister, he would call him the governor of the 51st state of the United States. So we have seen that as far as allies of the United States are concerned, they are treated with not much respect. They are treated, they are looked down upon, they are spoken down. We've seen how Mr. Trump spoke at Davos in the World Economic Forum, and the words and expressions that he used for European countries, for France, for NATO, and for so many other countries who are the allied partners of the United States. So similar is the case with Canada. He doesn't treat it with respect. He doesn't give it the consideration that another independent sovereign country and the leadership of another sovereign country is entitled to.
Thank you very much. With that, I would like to thank Mr. Sajjan Har for joining us today and sharing that insight. Now we move on to Iran. Iran's top diplomat has praised Pakistan's unwavering support at the United Nations Human Rights Council for opposing a resolution against Tehran concerning its human rights situation. During a phone call with Pakistani Foreign Minister Ishaq Dar, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has expressed gratitude for Pakistan's stance, which included calling for a vote and voting against the resolution. The Human Rights Council resolution adopted on Friday extends the mandates of both the Independent International Fact-Finding Mission on Iran and the Special Rapporteur on Iran's human rights for another 2 years and a year, respectively. The move follows a special session triggered by a group of 50 countries, including Iceland, Germany, and the UK, to investigate the Iranian government's crackdown on protests. However, China, Pakistan, India, Indonesia, Iraq, Cuba, and Vietnam have opposed the move and voted against it. While Iran blamed the unrest on terrorists supported by exiled opposition and foreign nationals, several countries, including Pakistan, India, China, and Iraq, have opposed the resolution. The fact-finding mission is tasked with investigating alleged violations tied to the protests that have crippled Iran since December 28th. Now we move on to Indonesia. 7 people are confirmed dead and 82 others are missing after a landslide struck West Bandung in Indonesia's West Java. Local authorities say heavy rains triggered the disaster, which hit a village in the region. Rescue teams are working around the clock to find survivors, but unstable terrain makes search efforts difficult. Indonesia's Disaster Mitigation Agency has warned the number of missing persons remains high and said that they will optimize search operations today. The weather agency had also issued extreme weather alerts last week, warning of heavy rains across West Java. Authorities urge local communities to stay alert and follow the safety instructions. Let's listen in to some locals who have reacted to the landslides.
Mati lampu tuh, hujan tuh 3 hari nggak berhenti sama angin juga. Jam 2 malam itu ada suara gemuruh sama goyang gitu sama gempa. Nah, kita evakuasi mandiri.
Nggak percaya. Gimana ya? Biasa lihat di TV kan sekarang kok kejadian di kampung sendiri. Ya masih ada takut ada itu kalau hujan nggak berhenti kita takutnya ada susulan gitu.
Now we move on to our next news. The Singapore government has announced it will invest over $778 million in public artificial intelligence research through 2030. This initiative aims to enhance the nation's capabilities and global competitiveness. The Ministry of Digital Development and Information revealed that the investment will focus on responsible and efficient AI, along with building talent from pre-university levels to faculty. Funds will also support industries adopting AI technologies. Singapore's ongoing commitment to AI includes previous investments, such as Singaporean $500 million in 2024 for high-performance computing resources, and Singaporean $500 million for AI research through the National AI Singapore program, which released a significant language model in 2023. That's all we have time for. Keep watching NewsX World for more news updates from around the world.